And we're back. We're back with Get a Grip after such a long time. And of course, today we're back because there are important things here. And of course, with me here, we have Gabriel. Hey, Gabriel, how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you guys doing?
Doing really well. And together with me and Gabriel, we have Paul Matthias from Hedge. Hey, Paul, how are you?
I'm fine. How are you?
Doing really well. And we have Isaac. Hey, Isaac, how are you doing this fine morning?
Hey, doing all right. What's happening, Philippe? Thanks for having me.
Great. Thanks, guys, for connecting. And this is our little panel here that we have today. And we're going to be talking about all of this great stuff that happened today. There has been a lot of updates on the Pro apps from Apple and so many things. But first of all, of course, we have Paul here, and he's from Hedge. And Hedge does these amazing applications, including PostLab, which is something that I use every day. Isaac is just like me. We do a lot of consulting, a lot of workflows, right, Isaac? And we have also Gabriel. Gabriel, I'm super interested in hearing what you think about today's release of 10.4.9.
Well, let's get into it first. Let's first talk about what's there before I share
It's a lot of stuff.
Or opinions. Well, okay, so Final Cut Pro 10 was updated to 10.4.9. We also got a new version of Motion and a new version of Compressor. And I would say the biggest thing that we got out of 10.4.9 is the proxy workflow enhancements, which I know you've dug into. So how would you describe those new features of the proxy workflow?
It changes everything, really. Mainly when you're talking about collaboration, mainly when you're talking about remote workflows. But of course, I might be a little biased here in what I think about the update, because I have been pushing everyone to use PostLab for a very long time. I was there from the very beginning, for example, and for whoever uses PostLab, that is huge. And it's huge for everyone that does any type of collaboration with people just around them in the same environment, or for people that just want to get a library to go and work on proxies. What do you see?
Another benefit of PostLab. You've mentioned to me that apart from, I mean, even if you're a solo editor and you're not collaborating, you're not sharing files, there is something that's really nice about using PostLab. Do you know what I'm referring to?
The snapshots of the libraries.
The library versioning.
Yeah.
Can you describe that?
Well, so basically right now, what advantage you would get right now if you would be using PostLab and there is this new update of Final Cut? You can literally just open your library. Final Cut will say, one update? Yeah, sure, update. If something goes wrong, you go back to PostLab and you say, discard this version that I just opened. And then you're back to the previous version on 10.4.8. So if, for example, you have a huge project with thousands of stuff inside that library and many projects, we have a lot of people that are that type, that have a lot of projects in one library. And for whatever reason, Final Cut wouldn't be able to update your library and break it. It wouldn't break with PostLab because you have that version of the library before you updated frozen in time. So you could just go back to 10.4.8 and open that version again and continue doing your work. So that's a great benefit of when I say, oh, Final Cut will update your library. Make sure to back up your library first. For whoever is using PostLab, that's already in the background. I mean, let's ask Paul, because Paul is the guy that will be able to say more about PostLab. So how would you describe this, Paul?
Pretty easy. Cover your ass. I think that's it. It's like you guys refer to. It's why even hustle multiple versions of an app, make backups of all the stuff. Just try it out, ditch it if it doesn't work for you, which I would find pretty hard to do because it works. And we've been working with Apple on this new release and it's been rock solid for quite a while. So yeah, just go ahead and you can always go back if needed. It's much easier than juggling zip files.
Now, okay, I'm going to say this just because you're the one that said it. And then, of course, feel free to I mean, to not review too much if you can't, but you just said Apple worked, or you worked with Apple on this release, or there is some sort of collaboration going on there. Do you think that Apple is really changing the way they are doing things and working on updates of Pro apps? Do you see Apple like anyway more open? Or what's the experience? How much can you say about it? I know that probably can't say much, but what can you say about how much they care about these things?
Oh, they care deeply, 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 deeply. My experience with Apple has always been very well and very warm and good conversations. But as the Pro Video team and all the Pro Apps divisions are part of a larger company, there's just this, you need to adhere to a corporate strategy of marketing and publications. So they can't just go out in the open and talk about everything like we would really like them to do, because we like to jabber along a lot about what would be options. And actually, wouldn't the world be very boring if Apple did that and we would miss all these thousands of tweets about when will the next release be here?
All the speculation that goes
behind.
behind.
5 coming tweet, and we need them. Yes, so much people would be without hobbies if they would have an open roadmap. So embrace it. I think it's good.
Now, Isaac, you do a lot of consulting workflows with agencies, studios, and corporate clients, and so on. How much is this update of Final Cut affecting? And because we started with the workflow, with the proxy part, maybe can you tell us a little bit of what changed in the proxy workflow, and how is that impacting? How you see that impacting your clients?
Well, one team I'm thinking of in particular, their lead editor was in a Premiere Pro culture, and then was brought into Final Cut, and of course that required quite a bit, of a mind shift. And one of these elements was proxy workflow. So being able to see a shot in proxy mode versus before 10.4.9, all or nothing. But now that you have this proxy preferred setting in the viewer, it gives you the best of both worlds, and it gives Final Cut Pro, it gives the software that decision making. So you don't have to decide which one you're going to play with. I think that in of itself, it opens up a lot of possibilities for these teams that thought, maybe not for us. Today's a new day.
I think it's huge. Gabriel, do you use proxies at all?
Almost never. I mean, I was shooting with GH5, which you can handle. I'm shooting with a Pocket 4K now, which it can't handle the Blackmagic RAW, Apple, if you're listening. But it can handle the ProRes, obviously. So, no, I rarely use proxy, but I have used it in the past, working with like Sony footage and things like that. And material with the alpha.
So for you, it's not a big
audio,
impact then.
That would all go missing. Well, it's.
Hey Gabe,
Like I was just saying,
can I
it's
piggyback off of something
what-
you just mentioned there?
Of course you can.
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, it's all you.
So when you mentioned the GH5, I actually just started shooting with that, and the reason why I chose that was probably the same reason you did, 422 10-bit color, and then I was surprised when it, when I went to play it back in Final Cut Pro, and the performance wasn't quite there. So I'm going, okay, I'm going to make proxies out of it, and with the existing tool set, that was tricky business. But now with 10.4.9, you bring it in, you say transcode, make proxies out of that, and now you can make proxies, these beautiful lightweight H.264 proxies at different frame sizes. And again, now I'm seeing that's where it opens everything up, so that flip a switch, color, conform, export the master, and it's beautiful.
And again, for how long have we
Yeah.
been trying to find ways around the big proxy sizes, different frame sizes? We were dealing with poor internet connections. Oh, we have small hard drives. We have a huge project that is on a NAS or on a shared storage, and we want to take it home. Or people, now we are in the middle of a pandemic, and suddenly we really have to do all of those things. Now having this proxy is not even about, oh, my computer can't play back that video file. Is also about maybe I don't have the storage to take a huge project that would be 10, 20, 40 terabytes in size, right? You can have now this in a few gigabytes as proxy with this new update. So it's quite big. And I want to just say here for the panel, you guys are only seeing me because my computer is like asking me to give it a break. And also for those of you who are watching, we are probably out of sync, but the sync will probably return soon. Okay, so any other comment on proxy? Because if you guys don't have, I have a lot of comments on proxy still.
Yeah,
I have something here.
So
I think you go ahead, Gabe.
Oh, okay. It's really delayed for me when you guys talk. So yeah, previously with proxy, you know, when you converted certain media to proxy, you know, the still images wouldn't transform, any video with an alpha channel, any audio wouldn't transform. So if you were to send that over, you would have to manually collect that information. But as you mentioned earlier, the proxy preferred workflow allows you to switch to proxy for the media that requires proxy, but you can still play back and see everything in your timeline. And you can also actually separately or together consolidate that. So even if you're not working on a collaborative workflow, you don't have a team or another editor in-house, even if you're just a solo operator, you can now work with these much smaller, easier to edit files, and it won't conflict with any of your other media types in your timeline, which is fantastic.
Oh my God, my computer is totally melting. I don't know if any of you could hear Gabriel. Could you hear him?
Yeah.
I could
Completely.
Or if it's just me? Oh, I apologize for
Yeah,
that.
I just hear a long delay.
I think I might have to move everyone to a different venue. Let me do one thing real quick. I'm going to switch to just Gabriel and I real quick. Okay, guys. I'm gonna have here Gabriel and Felipe, and I'm gonna drop a couple of audios here real quick just for me to see if we can pick back on our performance here, because looks like today things are not going that easy for my computer that has been on and here being on a lot of live streaming for the whole day. Gabriel, can you repeat that real quick for me to see if it improved here?
The whole thing or just anything?
And apparently it did not improve because I can't hear you at all now. Okay. Well, let me do this. There is a question here from Sarah, our friend Sarah, and she's asking if we have already tested ProRes 4444 with alpha on proxy. Yeah, and the answer is no. You're gonna lose the alpha there. I think I'm not even sure if it's gonna create the proxy, but with the proxy preferred mode, you can have the stuff that is ProRes 4444 with alpha. You can have that just being the original and the other stuff being the proxy. So there is that. Okay, let me put away the comment. And I'm sorry for the performance issues that I'm having here. I'm hoping that having just 2 videos for the moment will improve things. And Gabriel, actually, you can do me a favor. Can you refresh your connection there? Just reload this page and see if we come back with a better audio. Your video is great, actually. It's doing really great. Now, the other thing about the proxy is, so we talked about now we can do ProRes proxy in we can do the proxies in ProRes proxy or in H.264. We can do frame sizes 540p, 1080p, UHD, and we can do scales 50%, 25%, 12.5%. And
No
also the other thing is
no
on the
720p.
viewer, you can actually see now if you're using proxy or not. So if you go on top of a media and you're actually seeing proxy, it's going to show proxy. And if you're seeing original, it's not going to show anything, just the resolution. Gabriel, let's see if your audio is better.
I don't think you can hear me.
It is not. It is not. Yeah, I have no idea what's going on. Let's see, Gabriel's audio is from Gabriel. And yeah, looks like today is not a good day. Gabriel. Okay, I'm gonna continue commenting here. Gabriel, you can try speaking. You try to interrupt me if you will. Once, whenever you want. And
You're
Paul and
talking,
Isaac,
I'm
I'm sorry
talking.
that it's not
talking over each
working
other.
great. Let's see if the guys are still there. Let's say Isaac, can you speak up? Let me see
still
if I
here,
can
Felipe.
get your audio.
Yes, sir.
It looks like your audio is
Big day
going through.
today.
Maybe it's just my
Yes.
headphones.
Audio's coming through.
Maybe it's just my headphones. Let me see if that's the case. Isaac? Gabriel? Paul?
Yes.
Hello?
Yes.
It's my headphones, it's not my connection. I'm an idiot, sorry. Oops. Oh, bad word. Bad word. Okay, can you guys do me a favor? Maybe, Gabriel, can you pick up on the next feature?
What is the next feature? Well, there's a small feature. Can you hear me?
Yes.
We can hear you, Gabe.
There's a new small feature where we finally can add an audio-only dissolve. So before you'd have to drag out each, expand each audio component and drag them out and drag in the fade handle. Now you can simply select the clip. I don't think there's a keyboard shortcut by default, but you can assign one. And now with a single keystroke, it'll fade your audio, which is a tiny, long overdue thing, but it's super useful.
All right. Okay, I'm
Yeah,
back
was
now.
just,
I can hear all of you.
Oh, go ahead.
No, that's good. That's good. You guys can go ahead. I'm gonna pick up.
Oh, I was gonna say, Charlie Austin, he commented on that from somebody. Said it's always been there, but now it's automated. So, but
Yeah.
long overdue. Agreed. Glad it's here.
Sorry, I missed it.
another
Which
one?
part was there and it was automated now?
The audio transition.
Oh, the audio fades.
Ah, okay. Actually, I haven't found them yet. That's one of the features that I absolutely haven't found. I didn't look that hard for them, but and the fades, they're gonna go as a exponential curve. Oh, what is it called? Not an S curve, right? You can set to S curve.
It's determined by your preferences.
Bezier?
Oh, yeah, the duration is determined by your preferences. The
Duration by
type, I think-
preferences, but the type you can't set, right?
The example I saw was an S curve by default.
Which is strange because, as far as I know, you cannot set S curve as default unless it's one of those things that when you right click, you can choose. If you choose holding
Yeah.
Option and then it sets as default. You guys imagine that could be
Yeah,
one of
maybe.
them.
That could
Ah,
be.
we're gonna need to do some
Another
experimenting.
feature that is kind of small in implementation, perhaps, but is really big for me is, and I don't have it open in front of me, so I don't know the exact name. But for example, say you have 4K footage and you're editing it in like a 235:1 aspect ratio, or 4K footage and you're trying to edit into vertical. Now, before you could use the inspector and use the X and Y parameters to drag it up or down, but you had no way of seeing what media was beyond the range of that canvas. Now there's a little button you can click in the viewer, and it'll kind of overlay or underlay almost a grid and the rest of your image. So now you can see all the pixels available to you outside the canvas bounds, which is, Motion's had that since I think the beginning, and it's fantastic. So it's a simple kind of obvious thing, but we finally have it, and it's implemented pretty nicely.
What makes me think, because Smart Conform, we haven't talked about Smart Conform yet, which is basically Apple's take on using face recognition and machine learning to guess what's the correct frame of your video for a different aspect ratio. And all of the examples that we have so far is vertical and square aspect ratios that you can create from a 16:9 project. But now I wonder, What if when you do
Well-
duplicate project as, you would duplicate the project as, for example, 235 to 1 and use smart conform?
you
I
can-
wonder if it will go.
I was actually watching, I mean, Ripple Training, of course, came out with their tutorials right away today, and I was watching some of them, and you can import, now, well, I think the vertical the vertical and square, I think, are pre-existing options, but you can import custom frame sizes. And once you import that custom frame size and set that, then you convert your project, it's within there, and then any media you add after the fact, you can right-click on it and use the smart analysis, again, smart conform is it, which will fit that aspect ratio. So I believe
So
that
it's
would
not
work
only
for any frame size.
Oh, awesome. That is even more useful than just using smart conform for vertical and square.
Yes, because I've never done a vertical video, but I use 235.1 a lot, for example. And then sometimes I'll do 235.1 after the client agrees, and then they're like, oh, can you just make it normal again?
By the way,
So then-
can you make a vertical version of it?
Yeah.
Okay, now that we are really back, and I can hear everyone, sorry about that. I was using the AirPods, and I have been using them the whole day, so I guess the battery was dying. And dying and didn't let me know that was dying. That's the worst part. But now I'm wired. The wire is coming back. You guys can see, that's good. Anyway, I wanted to ask Paul, because this update, it's significant because very often I get involved with clients that have some sort of workflow issue. And most of the time the workflow issue is related to proxies. It's related to, oh, I have an editor somewhere else and we can't get proxies to work, or oh, we have to use proxies as originals, and it's a huge number of those. But of course, Paul has a bigger overview, given the size given the amount of people that are using PulseLab. Paul, how would you describe the stuff that's coming up soon with PulseLab, together with this current version, and how that can help people? Not about selling PulseLab or what's coming, but really about what is really the real benefit that this new version of Final Cut helped PulseLab and helped the users of PulseLab in general.
Hey, Felipe, I think Paul might have
no,
signed
here's
off
the-
from whenever the interruption happened.
Okay, well, I still can see him
Yeah.
there moving, but yeah,
Oh.
okay.
Oh, is he? Okay.
Yeah, he's because you guys can only see me, but I can see Paul. Paul, you still there?
Ah, gotcha. Thank you.
Yeah, he is still there, and we can see him, but
Oh,
I'm
good. Thank
not
you.
sure he can hear us or see us. Or let me send him program feed so he knows that he is live. But okay, so I directed that question to you, Isaac, because you have been taking a lot of those questions from people on PulseLab. How would you describe that this improvement of Final Cut for them, and people in this workflow? And I'm sorry if I'm kind of repeating here, but I think it's just so important, this one feature that Apple added to Final Cut.
Oh no, I don't. It's not redundant or repetitious at all. You know, Proxy Media, for those who are seasoned Final Cut Pro users, Proxy Media was a little bit frustrating because it bundled it in with the library, and then where is it? Well, it's in here, and then there's a consolidate command, and at one time it was a little bit obtuse, because when I think of myself about consolidating something, I think about collecting into something. But now in this release, between the way Proxy Media can now be pointed at a specific location, using consolidate to effectively manage that, to say it lives here, all of that is demystified, which means now when you bring in PostLab, and particularly one particular feature where you have shared storage in the cloud with PostLab, you can take that, put it out there, and then you have a team working from anywhere on this common set of media.
Yeah, and for me, that's how much important this whole update is is that it just, for example, I was on FCP.co's live stream earlier today with Chris, Peter Wiggins, Philip Hodgetts, Lee Herbert in Australia, and the thing is, see Lee, he's on the other side of the world. The internet that gets into the continent there are not enough marine cables, so internet is not super high speed as we get in Europe, for example, or as you might get in some places in the United States. And he's like, okay, now with this update, I can actually get more jobs because now it's easier to transfer stuff. I don't need people don't need to transfer as much data to me for me to work on. People can just send him the proxies and very small proxies, and he can work on that. And if he is working on with a client from Europe or United States, we are leveraging time zones, right? In the United States, people are sleeping and he is working. By the time that people in the United States wake up, the work is done. And that's going to go for a lot of people that work worldwide. So now you're not so limited to clients in your region, in your city. You can really get jobs from anywhere. Now, I'm talking too much. Gabriel, I would love to hear more about Gabriel, because Gabriel, you truly are seeing Final Cut 10.4.9 for the first time today. What else caught your eyes?
Yeah. Let me think for a second about what's all there.
We can go over the release notes here. I mean, proxy is the first one. We have the proxy preferred stuff.
Let's maybe start at the top.
Yeah, go ahead.
I mean, obviously, the proxy workflow is by far the biggest thing. The whole thing's workflow. I wanted to ask: is this version of Final Cut, as far as you know, already prepared for Big Sur coming out this fall?
Not only prepared for Big Sur. On the talk today at FCP.co, Philip Hodgetts, somehow he has that information. Not only is ready for Big Sur, but is ready for Apple Silicon. It's completely done. It's 100%. Working on Apple Silicon right now, this version. This is the version that starts working on Apple Silicon.
Okay.
So now we only need Big Sur to be ready.
Right, well, I've got some of these.
Yeah,
So I've got some of these release notes ready. So yeah, we've got all the proxy stuff. Social media tools, which we touched on. That's the Smart Conform. Custom overlays we discussed. There are some new duplicate project
could I cut
commands.
in? Could I cut in there on the?
Go ahead.
Yeah,
Go ahead,
yeah,
Isaac.
Of course.
So you mentioned Felipe, and then you mentioned just now Gabriel on Smart Conform. So there was that episode of FCP.go Live with Nathan Roloff, and he cut the Princess Bride at Home edition for Quibi. And immediately when I heard about this, I said, they would have loved this. They would have loved this feature so much, because that vertical cut and the horizontal cut would have been loads easier to generate. So yeah, again, these unexpected channels that are coming up beyond social media are Smart Conform is really going to prove to be a boon there. I'm sorry.
And
continue, please, Gabriel.
And sorry, just one comment on the Smart Conform is that people that are editing on Premiere, they're going to say, oh, this existed on Premiere already for some time, and they use Sensei. And the one from Premiere, honestly, I'm going to say is probably better, because not only they do the spatial conform on the video, but they figure out what it is that's important. So if there is a person walking from left frame to right frame, it's gonna keyframe so that person stays centered in the video. Final Cut is not doing that. Final Cut is just giving you the start of your work. It's like, here's the stuff that we figure out being the most important, and averaging that. So for example, if there is someone walking from left to right, the average that is the center. So it's gonna center that video. There's still a lot of opportunity for third-party plugins there and so on. But just wanted to say that it's not as good as the one from Premiere, but it's a pretty good start. Go ahead, Gabriel.
Well, not yet. Well, I'm not an engineer or an app designer, but obviously Apple's using some level of machine learning to evaluate these clips, correct?
Yes, not only machine learning, but also face recognition.
Okay, so correct me if I'm wrong, but seeing this now, I mean, okay, let me back up like 9 years. Apple has sort of had that since the very beginning with the content analysis. You know, you can have Final Cut keyword based on one shot, two shot. I mean, there's been a rudimentary level of that, but it seems like this has jumped it forward. Do you find this encouraging, that machine learning is going to slowly start making it way deeper into other avenues inside?
100%, mainly because it's already used on photos, for example. It's already used on clips.
Yeah.
So it's basically just about getting all of that technology that has already been used on one application and seeing how can we best use that. And I think Smart Conform is a very first step. It's like they're probably getting part of that technology that they already have from photos and applying there. So for example, if you put the names to the faces on your photos and then you make a video of a person, it's going to tag that person on the video as well. So it's doing face recognition on videos, the Photos application. So I would imagine that on future updates we could see the same feature that we have in DaVinci, that you could give names to people as a smart collection. So you would have a smart collection for Felipe. So every shot that Felipe appears and having the keyword range for Felipe, for example. I imagine that those types of things would be the no-brainers of adding
Well, I'm
machine
thinking
learning. And
beyond that too. If you can have Final Cut know how to identify who's on screen at any given time, you know, if you could funnel that metadata into like a motion template lower third, so that if Felipe is on screen and you have a lower third title, all the text and graphics is going to change to show Felipe in that clip. You know, if you have one with Paul later, and you're editing with Paul, and all of a sudden you decide to switch Paul out with Felipe's clip, it's going to update to Felipe. I mean,
now, wouldn't that be cool? Because then you could have a motion template that says automatic based on metadata, based on people metadata. So that would be amazing. That would be really, really cool.
Oh yeah.
Wow. Okay, I'm already thinking here that
August 25th, 2020.
You heard first here. It's copyrighted right now.
Yeah.
Okay.
I had
Let me fix my audio here because apparently I'm too loud and you guys are not loud enough. So let me make you guys a little bit louder. I hope that's better for everyone that's watching. I don't know if Paul is still here. Paul, are you still here? I don't know if you're on mute, just quiet there. I just wanted to double check. Let's give him a chance to say hi. And we can hear a lot of typing, like furious typing. It sounds like Paul typing, but I don't hear him. But anyway, so we talked about proxy, we talked about smart workflow, smart conform, sorry. What else are we missing, Gabriel?
Well, all the new ProRes RAW stuff.
Ooh, yeah. I didn't have any examples to put on my video, but Patrick Southern from Frame.io, he has examples on his video. They just launched Frame.io 3.7, better workflow extension, a lot of updates there related to FCP XML 1.9. And basically ISO, white balance, exposure offsets. Now you can also change all of that like for Red Raw. Not as many adjustments as Red Raw, for example, but the most important ones are there now.
Which is great for ProRes RAW shooters. And I think I was listening to I think it was the FCP.co stream earlier, but that's just the beginning as far as my understanding is that more things will be unlocked as camera manufacturers are able to work that codec into their cameras.
Yeah,
if I heard that all correctly.
The camera manufacturer will need to support it first, and there are only a few of them that are supporting right now. The Nikon Z6 and Z7, Panasonic S1H, and a few others. Now I think Paul is back, and let's see if he's really back. Paul, you there?
I
Let's
am.
try. Oh, now let me.
Good, there he is.
Let me put.
There's two of
now not.
yeah.
Yeah, now there's two Isaacs because I had to put Isaac in the place of Paul before, and now I have to add Paul back. But let me just switch to Paul. And Paul, how much? I asked you this before, but then I want to ask you again because now you have the opportunity to finally answer. Is how much does this update of Final Cut impact people that are using PostLab?
A lot, I think, in a good way. I think the biggest feature of this new update is that this allows multi-person teams to work on different proxy versions, whatever their situation is. So, for instance, you have a media manager with the raw material, you have someone working on ProRes, HiQ, but you also have someone that needs to go into a plane with a super low-res proxy, and they can just flip to whatever quality they need. I think that's quite a game changer. So you're no longer, even if you're tight on power, if you're tight on rendering power, if you're tight on disk space, you can always keep working and relink later on.
Yeah, that's absolutely awesome. Now we have the panel back here. We have the 2x2, and we can see everyone. Great. Now we're going to continue talking about...
Felipe.
Yes.
Yes. So we've done an episode on the app Kino, which is, they don't like to call it a media asset management software, but you can create all different flavors of proxy in Kino. And I know you use that more frequently than I do. Have you found a good workflow now between the new version of Final Cut and proxies generated in a third-party app?
Yes. So I generally prefer to use the proxies created on Kino because I can make a visual difference on of what is proxy, right? So on Final Cut with this update, you at least have a little tag that appears on top of the viewer saying that you're using a proxy, but I prefer something a little bit more screaming on my face. So when I create a proxy on Kino, I burn timecode on it. So I can visually see that I'm using proxy. But not only that, I can choose really any resolution and data rate, because we don't have data rate option within Final Cut, and we don't have 720p. So if I want to create 720p in a specific data rate, I go to Kino for that. But even farther than that, when they update to support the XML from Final Cut, and they already tweeted at me, because I do mention a little bit about this on my video. They mentioned here that thank you for keeping them on their toes about supporting. Here it is. Make sure you take a look at Felipe's blah blah. Thanks for mentioning Kino in there and creating some pressure regarding the FCP proxy workflow support. Basically, right now you can only send as originals to Final Cut if you're inside Kino. So if you create the proxies inside Kino today, you have to go back to Final Cut, file, relink, relink proxies, and select where the proxies are. Once they update, the idea is that I can do Command-Shift-F to send to Final Cut. It knows that those are proxies and just send to Final Cut. And they do everything else in the background. And that is now possible with the version 1.9 of the FCP XML.
And you can create proxy media in any application. As far as I know, the only two caveats are it has to be the same duration and the same number of audio channels, correct?
And frame rate. So these are really the minimum
and
requirements.
Frame rate.
So you can use Edit Ready, you can use Kino, you can use Compressor, you can use Keyflow Pro. Apparently Keyflow Pro is supposed to have an update today. That's what I've heard, that they will be supporting the new proxy workflow from Final Cut. So I'm not sure if that's correct, but it's probably coming or something like that. So all of this can create proxies, and you can create on Compressor too.
No update yet.
Yeah, I'm seeing here too. The last update was 1 year ago.
So, there are a few other nice things inside Final Cut. They're pretty minor, but we used to have the timeline navigator, the little tiny left and right arrows, so you can move left and right, or you could use command left bracket or right bracket to toggle back and forth between open projects or timelines. Now they have a drop-down menu where you can choose to close the active timeline or keep that one open and close all the other ones, which is just...
you can also choose to just play and duplicate and all of those things. It's pretty cool. I think it's worth us talking a little bit about motion. You use motion a lot. Do you see anything interesting in motion on the update?
Yeah, and okay, so they have you can now import a certain format of 3D models, and I believe there's a supplemental update that provides you with like 60 models to start with. And my friend Thomas, who's been on the show, confirmed that the Blender, the 3D program, can export that format. So you can import 3D models from Blender into Motion. Now, I don't really do 3D. The one that caught my eye, and which I played with already a little bit, is the new stroke filter, which right away I think is a really nice way to create some decent glows in Motion. But the stroke filter is it's just a regular filter, but it'll take the outline of any object that has an alpha channel, and you can apply a solid color or a gradient, and you can change which way the gradient glows or which direction it moves in. You can feather the inside or the outside. You can offset it. You can reposition it. So it sounds like a little thing, but now that I see it, I realize that the amount of work I had to do before to achieve the same effect was much greater. So it's one of those little things that's just going to save a lot of steps and open up some new options down the road. So that's, and honestly, it's kind of sad to say, but that seems to be the type of thing Motion gets every update, is it gets one tiny little new thing and one other little tweak in another area. It doesn't get quite the love that Final Cut does, but
And
stroke behavior in 3D models are pretty
yeah,
big.
and on the 3D models, Peter was saying that he discovered a few more details about it. The 3D models, they are not going to create shadows and reflections, for example, so they are not really, the light shines on the texture and you can see that change that the light is having on the object, but the object is not going to cast a shadow and it's not going to have a reflection. And the other thing is the objects, they can interact between themselves. So for example, you can use a behavior on a 3D object if they're in the same group, which I guess it kind of makes sense. But I don't know if subgroups are, they count as a group. Like for example, if you have a group called, I don't know, maybe you have a basketball and a floor and you want the basketball to kick on the floor, right? So I don't know if the floor and the basketball needs to be in the same group or if they can be subgroups inside a big group and still interact. So that I don't know yet. Well, I guess we're going to need to test.
Well, in that example, you could have your floor design in a separate layer or group completely. You just need an invisible plane that's at the same, positioning inside the other group for the ball to interact with. It wouldn't have to actually interact with the group layer because it's a flat surface. So you just kind of fake it, almost like a null object in After Effects, it seems to me.
Yeah. Well, Isaac, anything that you were not expecting this version of Final Cut to have and you liked that it included?
Well, yeah, I mean, I know we've talked ad infinitum about the proxy workflows. I know for some pieces, the social media deliverables with Smart Conform is going to be super helpful. I did try the old Bruce X on 10.4.9 versus 10.4.8, and you're gonna see those little shavings of time with the under the hood performance improvements, apparently, because I went from on my main workstation cut about 15 seconds off of that, so that's pretty cool.
That's nice.
Yeah,
Interesting.
I'm really looking forward to seeing how. Yeah, I'm looking forward to see, just like like Lee, how does this result in teams coming together and the possibility of you even working with your dream team because the proxy workflow possibilities here.
Awesome. So, of course, I don't want us to be here just for being here and talking over the same thing over and over and over again. But there was one other thing that I wanted to just quickly mention over, and I completely forgot about it. And I don't remember anymore what it is. So, do you guys have anything else that you want to comment about either Final Cut, Motion, or Compressor? Because otherwise, we can just go on and play with our new tools.
I think there's one golden nugget that everyone is missing.
Go ahead, Paul.
What's that?
I did some digging into the XML spec, and there's quite a cool thing in there, which nobody has mentioned yet. It's not
They use media?
Well, you can now use the XML to basically automatically relink to proxies, but not just proxies. You can also relink to a URL.
Yes, HTTP and
And
HTTPS types, right?
yeah, so you can you can stream your media straight from a cloud drive, or you can stream directly from I'm not sure if YouTube supports it, but directly from a streaming recorder into Final Cut Pro, start editing, and then later on reconnect to the file that you recorded.
Yeah, it would be interesting. I'm pretty sure that someone at some point will find a type of URL, let's say from Google Drive or Dropbox, that you can import that URL into Final Cut, and it's going to appear the media there. And the thing is, the way I understand that this is working is that you would import that through XML with the link there for the origin of this media. And in the background, Final Cut will be copying that media to the media location that's set on the library. So I think that's probably how Frame.io is probably using on their new version of Frame.io workflow extension.
Yes.
I imagine. And yeah, that's absolutely awesome. I definitely want to go there and test Frame.io because they are doing their own proxies in the cloud. So for those people that already are uploading their originals to the cloud anyway on Frame.io, they already created the proxies for you. So that's nice.
But how about take it a step further?
Yeah, go ahead.
That's just already that's pre-generated files. How about you would stream your Atomos with SDI to a cloud service that would open up one large file, and it would write blocks of media to that file, and on the other hand, Final Cut Pro fetches the blocks on playback, because that's what you can do with a file descriptor. So you can do live editing of a stream. So you can do file-based on a non-file.
Great. That actually, I think that changes as much for people impacting like, oh, now I can get this job, as much as proxy workflow does, because then suddenly you could have, let's say, this live stream happening here, but someone is fetching the URL, let's say in Brazil, and cutting already the highlights or something like that. So that's definitely interesting.
It's pretty big game changer for live conferences, I think.
Cool. What about you, Gabriel? You're going to say something.
Oh, yeah. Oh, well, okay, so this is just a dot update. We've got, for a dot update, I think it's pretty big, considering it's an entirely new workflow methodology. It's already set for Big Sur. It's already set for Apple Silicon. So we had to wait quite a while for the previous update because they were rewriting for Metal 2 or whatever. But it seems like if they are already set for Silicon and they're already set for the next software, and of course I have no idea when the next update will be, it sounds to me like they can focus really just on feature set because they've already done the groundwork for the next operating system and the next chipset.
Yeah, it sounds very logical to me. Like you said, yeah, they already all of the infrastructure part of changing the pipes and getting them ready for Apple Silicon and staying on Intel as well and Metal. I can imagine that maybe that's why they didn't call this 10.5 and it was 10.4.9 is that the actual big features that we would be seeing are yet to come and they needed to get these things out of the way first. Probably. Isaac, anything else on your end?
No.
Anything?
Go ahead, Gabriel.
I had nothing. Nothing.
Okay. Sorry, guys. We have like a huge delay here, but go ahead with Isaac, and then we go to Gabriel, and then we close everything.
I'd say the two things that I was highlighting going back to motion is motion, I think, is chronically underestimated and underrated on what it can do. And Gabriel mentioned the 3D object model importing, and I've worked with different tools to generate these. Like, well, you can think of some, and to be able to do that natively and with USDZ, which is kind of a a burgeoning spec, but it's got a great legacy behind it. You've got the support from Pixar, and then of course all of that being woven in here and having access to these models really is going to, I think, change how people view motion. Then the second thing, as I'm reading these 10.4.9, the Final Cut Pro release notes, is the narrative again is that Apple doesn't care about those professional users, and Paul said it, and you're seeing it here, particularly with how they're optimizing it for the 2019 Mac Pro. Apple does care, so it's a great time to try it out. It's a great time to give it a go if you haven't, and if you're using it right now, it just the best just keeps getting better.
Okay, Gabriel, before you go ahead, I just wanted to say, Final Cut had that 90-day trial, right? So some people were doing the 90-day trial. If people that already tried the 90-day trial download this new version right now, they get another 90 days to trial. So that's an interesting thing. Go ahead now, Gabriel.
Oh, I didn't have anything really.
Okay then. So guys, I'm sorry that there is a lot of delay and a little bit of a confusion here. In the beginning, it was going to be just me and Gabriel, and then we started making the party a little bit bigger and having more people. It's always more interesting to hear from different perspectives here. But thank you guys for joining. Paul, thank you, Paul. Thank you, Isaac. And again, thank you, Gabriel. Gabriel is always like wary, like, oh, let's do live, and then maybe not. But I like live. It's full of
I don't really
excitement.
like live streaming. Did you happen to notice the huge number of comments we've had on this episode?
Oh yeah, I mean, well, let's see it this way. First of all, we didn't know that we were going to live stream today. This update dropped in, and we were like, oh, okay, maybe we should do something. Second, we didn't really advertise this link at all, so I'm totally fine with that. But we already had about 59 playbacks, and I think overnight people are going to be checking this. They can check a video that I made on my channel that's a little bit big, is like 20 minutes long, but it has an index, so you can jump to the specific point that you want to see, a specific feature. And I think on the internet there will be a lot of people producing a lot of things about Final Cut in the next few days. So just update, download, try it.
Do we want to give Paul one last opportunity to plug PostLab?
Yeah, Paul, now you can actually plug PostLab. Go ahead.
I don't think I need to plug PostLab, guys. You've done that a gazillion times. But I would say, hey, if you're working Final Cut Pro or Premiere, if you're working in a team or just on your own and you want to clean up the mess, give PostLab a try. It's really nice to organize your stuff, to find stuff. We even use it internally now to share data, not just media, but data within the company for non-FCPX users. It's just easier to share data and links instead of using OneDrive or Dropbox.
Now that you're mentioning that, I'm actually starting to see that at some point people will stop using OneDrive and Google Drive within companies, because this is actually a little bit easier. It looks like that everyone is in the same shared storage. It feels like you're in a NAS, but it's in the cloud. So it's interesting.
Close version control. Well, we had someone from the press saying this could easily replace Dropbox for video production teams. And I think it's because it's easy. It's stuff you already know how to do. So there's nothing new to be learned. And that helps. Mm-hmm. Always helps.
And how can people find PostLab and find you and find Hedge online, so if they want to get in touch?
Go to hedge.video, our website. There's a free trial for all software we have, also for PostLab. And we're always available for questions through email or on Twitter, on Hedge for video or at PostLab app. I'm always happy to help out with workflow questions. So just reach out. We like talking to you guys.
Awesome. What about you, Isaac? Where can people find you and get in touch with you and hire the service of Isaac.co?
Yes, that's it. So my website, Isaac T, ISAAC, but if you do two S's, that's fine too, isaact.co. And I'm also on Twitter at Isaac, DOTCO, IsaacT.co.
Awesome. Gabriel, how can people find you since you can be hired by anyone in the world right now?
That would be nice. www.aceenterprises, enterprizes.com. That's my company website. That'd be the best place.
And can people stalk you on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and these places, or are you gone
Yeah, but I
from
don't know
Facebook
any
already?
of my usernames.
Okay.
No, I'm there. I have no idea.
Just look for Gabriel Spalding. And you guys can find me on Twitter, Baez Felipe. You can find me on LinkedIn, Felipe Baez. And I have my website, of course, Creative Beast with the 8 in the middle there. It's easy to find me. And you cannot stalk me on Facebook or Instagram. I'm not in either of those. So I guess that's it. Thank you, everyone, for connecting today. Thank you, Apple, for releasing this software today in the middle of the pandemic so we can finally do better work remote and in collaboration. And that's it. Sorry about the technical problems, but I guess you guys somehow were able to enjoy. And any last remarks before I close? Anyone? Last chance?
Can't wait for 10.4.9.1.
Okay, everyone. Bye-bye.